I'm author and critic David Agranoff. I'm a horror and science fiction author, critic, and researcher. In this podcast, I wanted to provide in-depth interviews and panel discussions with everyone from New York Times bestselling authors to researchers, musicians, and anyone I find interesting. Welcome to Postcards from a Dying World. Hello and welcome to Postcards from a Dying World. Oh shoot, did I lose Izzy? Hello and welcome to Postcards from a Dying World, take two. I am your host, David Agranoff, author of Punk Rock Ghost Story and The Last Night to Kill Nazis, which is out in bookstores by the time you hear this. So please run out and find it. It's my first national release, so I'm super stoked on it. So my guest today is filmmaker Izzy Lee, writer, producer, sometimes actor, sometimes voiceover person. Izzy Lee, who's I believe I saw My Monster, I think, first at HIF, and saw you do a Q&A, and so you've been on my radar ever since, and have been waiting with bated breath for your first feature-length film, which we're going to talk about later. But Izzy, welcome to the podcast. I'm very excited to have you here to talk all things horror films.
Thanks so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, I am very stoked to talk to you about, we're going to talk about some of your films, and some of them are available online for people to catch up to. Some they might have to catch at film festivals. And we're eventually going to talk about the campaign you're starting to fund your first feature film. And I'm amazed that you haven't had one of the big studios start throwing money at you, but that's just me. And you also have recently finished writing a novella that is going to be published soon, so we will get to that eventually as well. What came first, film love or horror?
Horror. They kind of were intertwined. I mean, ever since I was super small, we're talking like 4 or 5 years old, I fell in love with horror films. And yeah, Roger Corman, AIP, Vincent Price, the Co-Cycle, like Edgar Allan Poe was just formative, and so was Corman and Vincent Price, like those lush, beautiful adaptations that he made, which are currently on Criterion Channel right now. If you guys want to stream it, if you haven't seen it, oh my God, treat
Yeah.
yourself.
Now, I personally think his black and white film with William Shatner, The Intruder, is Corman's kind of unsung masterpiece. But I do love all those AIP Corman movies. They are very good. I saw them from a horror host, Sammy Terry, that we had in Indiana. Did you have you grew up in art? Now, I knew you were starting your film career in Boston. Did you grow up in Boston?
I did, yeah. Just south of, and then a little bit in New Hampshire. But what I saw, I don't know if there was a host. I don't really remember. It was Channel 56 WLVI Creature Double Feature. And yeah, like I grew up on Godzilla and the Poe stuff and all those crazy, Atomic Age, Radioactive, movies like them and stuff
Yeah,
like
we were really lucky. We had a guy with a green face who talked to a spider on a string named George, and he would introduce all the movies. That's how I first saw Phantasm, by the way, was on Sammy Terry. But mostly he did Hammer films. And for
Mhm.
us in Indiana, like a lot of times, because it was Friday nights and it was late, and if I had school, I would just start the VCR, and
Yeah.
they would show Black Belt Theater after that. So I got all these crazy double features of Hammer movies and Shaw Brothers movies, and
Oh man,
they were
beautiful.
Yeah, golden. So do you have the Roger Corman ones were big ones, but do you have ones that you remember when you got a little bit older or when you were starting to go to see movies in the theater and where you were starting to like notice styles and like
Yeah.
what it took to be, filmmakers?
Yeah, I mean, my God, I didn't become a filmmaker until far later, but the Hammer films were also way up there in terms of influences. I just, I have a really scarlet red crimson soul, and that stuff was always just so alluring.
Mhm.
An American Werewolf in London, I saw way, way, way too early, which also fascinated the hell out of me and scared me. And yeah, I just couldn't get enough. I also saw Predator very young in the theater, believe it or not, and RoboCop.
Well,
I
who was
actually
taking
share
you
a
to
birth.
these?
I actually share a birthday with Paul Verhoeven, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah, when I was in seventh grade, my father took me to see Hellraiser because I was already a Clive Barker reader. And it was funny because I have a very distinct memory of because the next week, Prince of Darkness, John Carpenter's was coming out, and I'd already asked for him to take me to that. And halfway through Hellraiser, he leaned over to me and said, "Somebody else is taking you next week," which is not, which was better than you're never watching this shit again. It
Right,
was somebody else is going to go through this. And, but, hey, at least he wasn't like saying, no, you can't do this. Now, so when you were watching these Hammer movies, were you a Fango kid? Were you reading about the making of movies? Because I think that a lot of people that kind of took the next step to wanting to do these things, it's because like other kids just watched like movies, but the Fango kids are reading about how they're made
right.
and who's making them and learning the names, right?
Right. I mean, oh my God. You would open up a Fango and you would see George Romero's beautiful work, and you would see Tom Savini all over the place. You would see all sorts of articles on the special effects, which is glorious. Oh my God. Those special effects guys in the 80s were absolute rock stars, man. Um, I
Oh
did a
yeah.
little bit of effects myself on some of my shorts, but it was nowhere near, working in a full shop or anything like that. But mad respect. I love, love, love practical effects. You watch an American Werewolf London, it still holds up. How many
Mhm.
years later? 40 years later. Phantasm, still fucking amazing. Everything, every single zombie, well, maybe not every single zombie, it depends on the movie with the
Right.
Romero films, but I
Well,
love
yeah, but and that's the thing is a lot of kids they grew up with baseball players or football players that were their heroes, and for me it was like John Carpenter and Clive Barker and
it.
Stephen King, and these like were more than just names to me. And for me it was speaking of the Richard or the Roger Corman AIP movies, the one that really changed everything for me was seeing Richard Matheson's name on the spine of a book because I had seen his name on the Twilight Zone and Star Trek as, written by. And then I was like, oh, this is a real guy that's doing this, that's writing these. And maybe one day I could be one of them. And so you talked about the Roger Corman. Would you consider at what point did your movie taste start to change where you were formulating some of the influences that you're using today? Like because I'm sure they're different a little bit, but you probably started as a young person like having certain names or filmmakers that you gravitated to, right?
Yeah, I mean, John Carpenter is still my number one.
Yeah.
Carpenter, Cronenberg, Lynch, my God, like just absolute titans. Another program I watched quite a bit was Monster Vision, hosted by Joe Bob Briggs, way way back, and that was where I first saw the Phantasm movies, and The Brood, which I still love so fucking much. You
Yeah.
cannot get better than Oliver Reed as a very intense pseudo psychiatrist. Go through it, go all the way through it. You know what I mean? With my very poor accent there, but it
Right.
was formative. And then I watched The Shining on my 16th birthday and invited some people over, and I don't think that they liked it as much as I did, but that's fine.
That's okay. So yeah, so you've been a horror soul forever, huh? So
Forever. Born and
yeah.
bred.
All right, so let's go through. So would you say the so let's go through some of the giants and go through what some of your favorites are.
All right.
All right. So Carpenter, what's your go-to favorite Carpenter film?
The Thing.
The Thing,
The
okay.
Thing. Holy shit. I love it so much. The dread, the atmosphere, the acting. That dog, that lead dog that they had was incredible. The practical effects by Rob Bottin, like Jesus. I
Yeah.
cannot ask for more in a fucking horror film. It is just so incredibly well crafted and it's nihilist as hell. I love it so much.
I agree with you that it's his best. Prince of Darkness has a special place in my heart because it's science fiction and horror and the first one I saw in the theater, as I've already
Um,
commented on. But Cronenberg, what's your favorite Cronenberg?
the Brood.
The Brood. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw that I wasn't able to go, but like a decade or so, well, a long time ago, Clive Barker hosted a screening of The Brood at the New Beverly and was like did like an intro and I was just like, my God, like how incredible would that have been? So The Brood, you've talked a little bit about that, but like for me it's Videodrome, but I'll give you that The Brood is one of the best early examples of what Cronenberg was
So
doing.
good.
Yeah.
So good. It's really intense. You know what I mean? And he sort of based it off of this divorce he was going through at the time. But the thing is, I don't want to say a lot of childhood trauma, but I relate to those characters, which is, you know, let's not talk about that. But it's I can, it is a special movie for me. It's just so intense and it's validating in a way if you've
Yeah.
been through a lot of, certain family dynamics, so to speak.
Well, and it's a movie that if you have patience for, really rewards the patient viewer.
It's
Um,
incredible.
yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan of The Brood. But again, my favorite would be Videodrome. But
Yeah,
um, you can't go wrong with pretty much any Cronenberg,
right.
any era, in my opinion. All right, so Romero.
That is a hard choice. Romero is so fucking good. Oh my God. If I had to pick one, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, yeah. Or favorite.
Hmm.
I'm just giving people a baseline here
Right.
of who they're talking, who they're
Sure.
listening
Yeah.
to.
My God. I really dig Day of the Dead. Day of the
Hmm.
Dead was terrifying. And
Yeah,
Bub the zombie. I mean, man.
yeah, and recently added to Hulu, I believe. So like
Oh,
people
good.
can, yeah, people can watch that. I think I saw that the other day that it was added and it was interesting to me. Yeah, that one is good. I think it's I think the way it mirrors the kind of decay and slow death of the world, like where it's less bombastic than the last one. I think really works. Wes Craven, and then I'll give you Dealer's Choice.
Serpent in the Rainbow.
Okay, saw that one in the theater. Yes, that
Amazing. How was it?
it was
I was in the
great.
theater.
Opening day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really weird though, like
Yeah.
for a young person. Yeah. But Servant the Rainbow, yeah, that's a good pick. Yeah, it's a left field pick, partially too because I think a lot of people underestimated that movie because of the whole based on a true story, based on a book by an anthropologist kind of thing. But yeah, Wes Craven was going really weird on that one. So
Yeah, I love weird and I love surreal and creepy and terrifying and intense.
right. I think
Yeah.
if I only had to pick one Wes Craven, I'd pick People Under the Stairs.
Oh,
But
that's so good.
yeah. But I think Serpent in the Rainbow is a great pick. So now dealer's choice, anything from 80s from the 80s. How about that?
Anything
That
from the
I've
80s.
missed.
And it that you've missed?
That we've missed here in this
Oh,
discussion that we haven't
o-
already talked about. Yeah.
okay, okay.
Favorite 80s.
There's so many. Oh my God. I can list like a whole bunch right now.
Well, yeah, you can give me five then.
Halloween 3, None of the Creeps, Monster Squad. That's 3. RoboCop I do consider horrific in a very specific sort of way. Escape from New York is not horror, but it's again adjacent for me. Creep Show. Man, there's so many. There's
Yeah.
so many. I'm having trouble thinking. Aliens, because Alien was 79.
Yes.
That's
So
for sure.
yeah. 80s. And that was one that I was able, my father took me to, and he actually didn't hate it. Like, which was interesting. But I think that's the power of James Cameron and his like can make anything relatable. Um, so now we got a good baseline for what your influences are. Tell us about the process of becoming a filmmaker. Like, when did you decide like this is something that I want to do? And I think one of the things that's unique about horror as a genre is it's very similar to punk rock in the sense that um, many people feel empowered as a part of the community to just say, I'm going to do this, right?
Right.
And so where did you come to the conclusion that you were going to make horror movies yourself?
Well, I started writing and acting when I was in like kindergarten, first grade. I made this mopey emo vampire short film in high school, which I have no idea where it went, and that's fine. I made a couple more shorts in college. I was at art school at Mass Art in Boston, and I had this intro to video class, and my instructor told me, because this was just an elective, this wasn't for my major, which is illustration. Um, you should be a filmmaker. And I was like, I'm not a rich white straight guy. Because, back then, only a handful of women were given the reins to direct films. So it wasn't anything I was told by society that I was allowed to do. My
Mm.
options were makeup artist or actress, for the most part. And when I got out of college, I started as a film festival programmer for Boston Underground and then eventually Boston Sci-Fi. And then a genre journalist, which, I did a lot of writing for Rue Morgue, Diabolique, couple of blog posts back in the day for Fangoria.com under like a way different leadership than it is now. Eventually birth movies Death and Screen Anarchy, which used to be Twitch Film before Twitch the gaming company came on and all
They had to
that.
change the name. Yeah.
They did, but there was a settlement and everything, yeah, behind the scenes, but they did.
I
um
was very fond of that website back in the day. So like, because that's where you
yeah,
got foreign film news. You couldn't get it anywhere else, right?
yeah, it was kind of difficult. But when I was still programming and still doing genre journalism, it was then that I really got sort of the bug to dive head into horror films because I had been a writer, I've been an actor, you know, been writing about films and reviewing them and interviewing filmmakers, and I had done a lot of illustrations and paintings and stuff, and it was just the natural progression. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be any good at this, but I'm just pissed off enough to try. And
Well,
here we
and I don't know if you would feel like you could say this, but I think that there's got to be a point when you're writing about movies, but there had to be a point where you were interviewing some dopey dude who somehow made a movie, and you thought to yourself, I can do better than this jackass, right? Or there had to have been one movie where you were just like, how the hell did this get made? I can do so much better than this.
Oh, well, that continues to this day.
Yeah.
But it was more so that I always felt something was missing. And I would say, return home from Fantasia feeling really sad. And I couldn't figure out why. And it was just like I needed to join my people, but I didn't know how. And the filmmakers, these horror filmmakers and sci-fi filmmakers were my people. And until I started making films, and even like a few years in, I didn't feel that comfortable. But yeah, that was really the impetus. I don't know why I feel sad leaving these amazing festivals. What is going on with me? And it was that I needed to just jump in and join them.
Well, and I'm not saying that every time there's a an idiot or somebody, but for a lot of us, there's the time where you read a book where you're like, I can do better than this, right?
Right,
Or
right.
I have ideas too, and I can make this happen. And I think it's a powerful moment for an artist to sit down and say, for one thing, like, I know I can do this, but then you have to put, ass plus chair to
Same.
the hard work of writing,
Hard work.
and in the case of filmmaking, you have to put together a team to actually make things physical,
Yes.
right?
And now
Eh,
having directed 23 short films over the course of my life, definitely not all of them on IMDb, and writing a book, I can say that they're both excruciating in different ways. Writing a book is fucking way easier because of you don't need money to hire people,
right.
to rent locations, to buy props, to this, that, and the other thing. But yeah, it is it is a lot.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, there's certainly, as somebody who's written screenplays and written books, there's times where I definitely make the decision like, no, yeah, this would definitely be easier as a book. Right. And you know you have to weigh sometimes. Also, one of the things with the reality of the business today is that having and controlling IP is really, really important. So if you can write a book and control your rights that way, then that's also a smart thing to do. So for you to jump into writing books, I'm sure that's part of the calculation, I'd imagine. But also just I know that the creative juices of it are another thing, and we'll get to your book in a little bit. But in your journey, which do you consider the first short film where you feel like you captured the vision that you had in your mind and you're like, hell yeah, I did that? Because if you've made like close to 23, I've seen maybe six or seven of them, and I've seen a couple at Film Fest.
Yeah.
As a regular goer to HIF for many years, like I saw your work there. I've seen you do Q&As. So, I've seen some of your work, but do you have one that you're like, bam, that's it. I did it. We did it. Um,
Well, I have two answers for that. So making these films has been my own film school, having not gone to a proper film school. On-set experience is the best film school you will ever have, and I've heard this from people who have gone to film schools, which are amazing if you have the money to go. I'm not knocking them. It's just very difficult to spend all of that money where you could just spend it on a film and learn by
right,
doing. So I think the first film that I got that feeling from was Postpartum, which also stars Casey Lansdale and Diana Porter. We shot that in Massachusetts. And I think we premiered 2015 at the Nacogdoches Film Festival, and that was fun. To go down there to her hometown, and her dad Joe was not an organizer, but in with the organizers, and he was around and brought in George R. R. Martin, and that was pretty cool. That film postpartum was the first time I was like, I really got what I needed to say. The second answer to that,
Now, and I should say, I did see that one at HIF. I'm positive
yeah,
you guys did that one at HIF. The
yes, we
first
did.
year we did the campfire readings, and
Yeah,
yes, and that was excellent, and that particular screening had a great energy. I remember that very
that
fondly.
was, I mean, Horrible Imaginings. I hope Miguel can bring it back because it was such a fucking great festival. It's been one of my favorites that I've ever played. Um, so the second answer was is Memento Mori, which is a much newer film of mine. I shot it last year, and I'm choosing that because it is the film that is almost 100% um, the vision in my head is what you see on the screen. And it's
And
super
that's a
short.
very short one, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't
It
seen it
was,
yet, but it's very short. Like,
yeah, it's a micro short. It's a minute and 16 with credits. And it's because I entered this little, I don't want to say little, but a micro festival,
right.
the NYX 13 Minutes of Horror. And the stipulations were every film has to be a minute long before credits or less. It has to be sci-fi horror. And I got in and I closed out the 13 with lucky number 13, Memento Mori. And collectively, we won a Rondo Award this year for the anthology. Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. And you are in it as well too, right? Like,
Barely. I
there.
do a
Okay.
little bit of voiceover, and then it's my arms and my hands grabbing my actress from behind.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. And so I've seen at least one of those. I appreciate that because the thing is no matter how hard you try, like to be able to actually, I know for filmmakers and writers, we're always going to see like, the zipper in the on the suit
Right.
because like we're always going to wish we had more money, more time, more things to do things. But at the same time, you've made several you know shorts along the way that I think are really impressive.
Thank you.
And one that I know was a really good crowd pleaser is My Monster, which is a horror comedy and very funny. The shot of the ex-boyfriend outside the window wearing his boxing gloves is absolutely hilarious. This one is one that people can see on YouTube, correct?
Yes, it is on the Alter YouTube channel.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's very good. I recommend people check it out. What was the impetus in this one?
That was me being in LA, living there for the first time and wanting to make something with friends. And that was starring Bria Grant and Adam Egypt Mortimer, who are both directors, primarily. Bria was more of an actor a couple of years ago back then, but she was also directing more and writing more. And then the monster stars my husband Steve, and we got an amazing makeup artist. I went down to
Yeah.
Motion Picture Effects in Burbank and bought these foam appliances for this creature thing, and she applied them and painted them and made it look like something really incredible. And yeah, so it was fun. That was a 1 day shoot, believe it or not. Run and
Oh
gun.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that was.
it's looks very put together for one day.
It was lensed by Shaheen Seth, who is married to Sarah Adina Smith, who is the director behind Buster Ismail Heart and many other wonderful shows and movies. So he's very talented. So I want to make sure to give him a lot of credit. But it was really fun doing all that horror and all that comedy at the same time. I've really developed a taste for it over the years, and yeah,
Hmm.
it's joyous. I need to do more.
Yeah. And there's one other one that was on. that's on Alter that people can find on YouTube, right?
Yes. Rites of Vengeance, which is
Oh yeah, that very atmospheric short film. What's the impetus on that one?
um I don't trust the church, and it's me letting off steam about that, where, you know, I've had friends that have been abused by priests, and growing up in Massachusetts, there's been a lot of it. And we shot in a chapel in Massachusetts, actually. And yeah, that was also a one day shoot, believe it or not.
Well, what's cool about it is that you got to show like a lot of your ability for doing atmosphere and for doing working with effects and doing those things. So it's a good showcase for your ability
Thank you.
in that way. So I appreciated that one. And the last short I want to talk about, and the one that I found to be the creepiest, you were returning to work with Casey Lansdale on Rehome.
Yeah.
Is it Rehome? I know I said it wrong the first time too. It's Rehome,
Yep.
right?
Yes.
ED. Yes. And
Yep.
this was probably my favorite of the ones that I watched in the last couple days to prepare for this. It's very creepy atmosphere, very intense, great performances, and you did a really good job capturing everything. So, what was the impetus for this film?
So I'm often inspired by the news, unfortunately, in a very angry way. Um, this was in 2018 when we shot, and it was all about Trump and his bullshit wall at the border. And it was when he started to have all of these really horrific policies that created a lot of suffering. And so it's a commentary on that. It's more of a lo-fi sci-fi slash thriller horror in the sense that it's dystopian and near future type of thing. And now you have, and I don't know if this is real or not, but I saw a photo and it's just horrific. Like somebody is putting rotating circular saws sandwiched between buoys in a river from, you know, that's migrants cross to get to the US. And it's just like, you're maiming people because they want a better life. Are you fucking kidding? Like, it's just, yeah. So politics are unfortunately a source of fodder because I get so upset,
Yeah,
like
and
any other horror and sci-fi writers.
as the long time vegan in me also liked the little visual image at the end. I'm not gonna give it away so people can see it and not be ruined, but I liked the little thing you
The
got in
last
there.
touch there. And
The last little touch there. And
I think it might be still on Shutter. If anyone has Shutter, it's part of the Etheria collection, season 6. If not, it might also be on Tubi as part of the Etheria collection.
okay, well there you go. So let's talk, and we're gonna get into the most important thing here very soon, which is the Kickstarter you're starting for your feature film. But
Yes.
first, let's talk about that novella. Like, what was the impetus? And I've been following since I remember you posting like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna do this." Like, whenever you started this, that you were going to write this, and I remember being one of the people that was like trying to be encouraging, like, "Yeah, you do this, you could do this." Um, because I do remember you posting about like, I think I want to write a novella, so you did it, right?
I did it. I just turned in edits to my publisher the other day, and I am unbelievably relieved right now. I'm
That
meeting
it's
with
done,
my
right? Yeah.
I think it's done. If they have another round, fine. I don't know. We'll see. I hope not, because I don't know how much left I have in me. I added another 20,000 words. Um, but I get to meet with my cover artist, I think, coming up this week, and I'm super excited about that because it's the same cover artist as this other anthology that I'm in called Haunted Reels, which is all genre stories from genre filmmakers like Cargill, who co-wrote Doctor Strange and the Black Phone adaptation of Joe Hill's story, and Sinister, you know what I mean? And Aaron Moorhead, David Lawson, and Justin Benson of Rustic Films. Those guys are fucking amazing. Gigi Sacolero, Bria Grant. Jay Baruchel has a story in there. It's like, it's insane. Anyway, my cover artist, Holly Chiefins, is incredible, and I'm really looking forward to working with him.
So what can you tell us about to tease us about what the novella is about?
All right. So it is about a woman who has the ability to see aberrations on someone's face when they lie to her. So not only is that a very disturbing thing, but she's investigating her mother's cold case disappearance. Her mother was an actress in the 70s and disappeared. And so there's a lot of sprinkles of Hollywood true crime in there that sometimes are funny, sometimes they're disturbing on a psychological level because we're dealing with a lot of human drama, human emotions, psychological things. And then, there's also a possession story in there too. There's a lot going on.
It
And it's
sounds
really
like
great.
it's got a Hollywood noir thing going to it
A
too.
little bit. Yeah.
And yeah. Well, good. That sold. I
Yes.
like Hollywood noirs in general. Well, and so who's publishing this and when is it coming out?
It would be Dark Matter Inc. and Dark Hart Books is the imprint there, which was led by Sadie Hartman, our
Hmm.
wonderful friend. And that is February 13th, 2024, just in time for Tainted Love Valentine's Day, because there's a lot of that in there too.
Sadie has been on this podcast. She was on she was on our panel for top 10 horror novels where we did four of us all picked our top 10 horror novels.
Well, that must have
Very
been
Yeah, it was a good episode.
fun.
Yeah, and so sorry I missed Sadie's event yesterday. You have no idea. When I realized it was a half an hour over when I lifted up my head, I was very angry.
When
Um
you're in the zone, you're in the zone, man.
yeah. Unfortunately, I was definitely in the zone. But yeah, that sounds really great. And a book I'm really looking forward to. So you know, I'm promising my listeners that I will work on having you back to talk about the book, spoilers and all,
Would love
when
to.
I've read it. So the thing you're working on now or about to start working on, the next big project is an is your first feature film,
Yeah,
and so I'm assuming the script is written
it is.
and you're ready to go. So now you're trying to raise the money to do this. So tell the folks first what this movie is about and what you're looking for funding and how they can fund it. But let's start with what it's about.
Sure. It's a psychological and supernatural horror film. It's a blend. Got some surreal moments in there as well. Tiny bit of comedy, um, but just enough to like ease down the tension before it gets creepy again. So it's about a grieving widow, Mia, who is falsely put under house arrest, and she's serving out this house arrest term. Her new boyfriend Mark moves in with her, and they start to encounter an entity that starts messing with them, and things start to get more aggressive and creepy as the story goes on. And the thing is, Mia can't leave. She will get a worse sentence if she tries. That ankle bracelet will go off, her parole officer will come down, and maybe she goes to jail for 5 years instead of house arrest for one. So it basically becomes a haunted house, almost survivalist film. And how does she get out of this, and how does she
Mhm.
solve what's going on?
Well, and of course, the first thing you have to solve in a haunted house story is why the fuck don't they just leave? So,
Exactly.
yeah, always got to have that. That's always the first thing a writer has to figure out when doing a haunted anything story.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, well, that sounds awesome.
Thank you.
So now, in order to now so there are certain questions you're going to have to solve as a producer. Like, are you going to find a location? Are you going to build a set for the interiors? Are you going to do those things? And all
Yeah,
those things require a budget
money.
and money. So, um,
Mhm.
you know, so you're raising money. Is this for pre-production or the whole deal?
It's for everything. I've done a lot of development work and a fair amount of pre-production so far. And so basically what is needed is that I need to cast the rest of it. I need to book locations. So there will be probably no set building. The main location will be a rental. And just going ahead and paying people to make this crazy shit happen, you know?
Right, right. And so one of the reasons why filmmakers uh do these things independently is to keep control over their product and their story, and to do that, I independence is a huge part of this. But is this a project that you might eventually shop to a different production company or distribution in the future, or are you trying to hold on to this one yourself?
Well, it's hard to say what's going to happen because, when it's done, we'll submit to festivals. And from there, at the same time, we'll also send it around to some sales agents. And if you get a sales agent in early, they'll often have a lot of advice about which festivals that you play and things like that. So there's never a very straightforward path with film
Right.
and anything.
Yeah.
But I've got some people that do want to look at it when it's done already. So
Well, and
it
you might be in a really important time and niche too, because obviously there's a strike going on in Hollywood, and
yeah,
people who are fulfilling the wishes of the union demands are able to keep making movies at this time. But
mhm.
also, you're not beholden to a lot of those things because you are an independent filmmaker. Am I correct about that? Or is
I'm absolutely independent. I'm so independent that I have to do everything myself.
right? Right. Which, is one of the reasons, but it's also, it's a feature, not a bug, right? It's
Right.
it's it's something that you can bring to the project, to make sure that you maintain your vision and you don't have anybody fucking with you and all
Right.
that.
And the cool thing is about, well, one of the cool things is not only do we have creative control and Final Cut and all that, is that for this crowdfunding campaign, one of the perks that I'm going to be doing is sort of giving everyone a back seat, or sorry, backstage look at what goes on at indie filmmaking behind the scenes. And so I'll have production diaries and reports and cool little vignettes that I'll be sending to people. We'll have watch parties. I'm sort of going to build a community, and it's going to be really fun.
Well, here's something else that another way I'm going to sell this or pitch this is, if you're a young woman out there who has always wanted to make horror movies but hasn't figured out how to make them,
Join us.
exactly, help
Mhm.
fund this movie and follow along and participate in the community, and be a and learn from somebody who's made 20 plus movies, short films, and gotten on the festival circuit and has made her way.
This can be a really cheap film school for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
I wish I had this starting out, man.
yeah, exactly. Now, and so, Izzy, that gives you the potential, the ability to, I mean, obviously every film is like a calling card for you to do um you know other work. Then we have like, what's the woman's name who did the Fear Street movies?
Hey, Janiak.
Yeah. And so, is this something that, I mean, would you want to do if, this movie gets funded, it comes out, you do a great job, best case scenario, do you want to work in established franchises, or do you want to, you know,
It
one
really
for them, one
depends.
for us? What,
You
what,
know, it
what
really depends. You know, everyone has a different path, and it's hard to say, yes, I will direct Halloween movies where, you know, I will never be in the room for any of that. Because they already have their team. Would I do a Halloween movie? Yeah, I fucking would. Would I do a
yeah,
Phantasm movie? Yeah, I fucking would. Although, you know, that's Don's only, and he's wonderful and it should be his. But yeah, I would love to do originals. I would love to do franchises. I would love to do, I just love it so fucking much. You know what I mean? Horror
right,
films are amazing. I'll do TV too, man. I would love to do episodes of Creep Show.
right. Well, and I think that's one of the, you know, I would love to see you do that stuff too. So like, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview to support your
Yeah.
crowdfunding campaign this way, is because I want people to help you make this so you can get further. And I think that people need to look at that as it's not just, donating to this individual film, but it's also like, voting with your dollars that, Izzy Lee is a filmmaker that I would like to see, like, you know, doing, things with more money where she doesn't, you know, have to scrape it together like this, right? It's fine if you have to, because it's a great lesson to learn. And a lot of our favorite filmmakers, those ones we were talking about earlier, they scraped together a whole bunch of movies when they were starting, right?
Yeah, man.
So it's not like, John Carpenter was made of money when he made Dark Star, right?
Right.
Or Assaulted Precinct 13,
Which is also so great.
which is also so great. And look at, I mean, George Romero was fighting to scrape together money to make movies throughout his entire life,
Which
right?
is a tragedy. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's not a reflection on the um inability to raise money of these writers. It's that, right place, right time. And what's really exciting about this campaign is that people are in the right place in the right time to make this film happen, right?
Fingers crossed. I hope you're right because I've been asked, I can't even tell you how many years when I'm gonna make a feature, and it's not for lack of trying. It's not for lack of pitching.
Yeah,
It is lack of somebody stepping up and being first. And I've come close so many times, like
I'm sure.
heartbreakingly close.
Yeah.
And it's the life of a creative. So finally I'm just like, look at enough. I
Well,
gotta do this.
heartbreakingly close is the story of successful filmmakers. Like half of the things they've written are heartbreakingly close. So,
Yes.
but we had the chance to make this movie happen. And
Um,
so the best case scenario, okay, um so where's going to be the home for this campaign? I'm sure by the time it comes out I'll have links to everything in my show
yeah,
notes, but
thank you. Yes, it'll
um
be on Kickstarter, and we don't have a page URL yet um, to talk about, but it will be made very soon. And by the time it does come out, yes, you will have the link.
and you guys have a mood reel you've put together to show like some of the
Yes.
influences and things
Yes.
that styles you kind of want to go for,
Yeah.
and that's a pretty industry standard thing. And uh it's interesting too, because what I think, for me, like I thought that was very important, because even if knowing the story, like, I get a sense of, or got a sense from the mood reel that, that this was going to be a pretty hardcore horror film, not just, that you were going for hardcore scares in this movie. Is
Yeah, I love being scared by a film, and it's pretty rare for that to happen. I'm one of those horror junkies where I'm always sort of searching for the next fix, and it's super, super hard to scare me. And so I want to freak people out with my own movies. And I cannot wait to do so.
Well, and there's a lot of suspense and different kinds of horrific mechanical parts that you can. I love the small scale like horror built into like a small set or a small area, because that forces the filmmakers and writers to be really creative about things. And of course that also makes production easier at the same time, so that's why we get a lot of those. But I think that the setup that you have here has great potential for to be claustrophobic and frightening, and something I'm really looking forward to. So when are you hoping to be shooting this by? Like, what's the best
Uh,
case scenario for
I I'm trying to wrap production up by New Year's Eve. So we'll be shooting in either November and or December. And
Wow, so this is coming quick.
it's coming quick because I am impatient. I've waited long enough, damn it. And
Yes,
I have
and
my
you
team
have the
together.
so you must have the pre-production ready to go, and like a lot of it thought out
A
and
lot
planned.
of it. Oh yeah. I spend a lot of time thinking about this movie, and there's still a lot more to go, but we have a bedrock, solid foundation. I've got my cinematographer, Sophia Cacciola, who's shot Rehome and Meet Friend and Memento Mori, as a matter of fact.
Mhm.
And her husband, Michael J. Epstein, will be my editor and sound recordist and mixer. And we've made so many things together, either with their projects or mine. And that goes back to our Boston days, you know. And
Right.
we have a short form, and they are used to working with me, and likewise, and we can shoot fast. So I'm looking
That
forward
sounds
to
awesome.
it. Yeah.
All right, Izzy, this was a really great conversation. Is there anything else that you want? Well, people should find your production company online too, is one of the
Yeah.
ways they can find your stuff. So can you tell people how to find you?
Sure. So I'm going to spell this as well because it's Latin, because I'm difficult and Gothic like that. Nihilnoctem.com, Nihilnoctem.com, which literally translates to nothing night, because I describe myself as a recovering nihilist. And there will be information on the Kickstarter there, as well as information on some of the shorts. And I'll have to add a page for the book as well. Dark Matter Inc. is where you can find I Can See Your Lies for pre-order. And
Nice.
I'm
Oh, the
floating around.
pre-order's already up, huh?
Oh, pre-order's up, man. Yeah, we've already got some orders, and more to come. I'm really excited.
Awesome. That's really cool. And when does that come out
Yeah.
exactly?
February 13th,
February 13th.
2024.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Well, I hope you have something really fun planned for book release day for your book party. So, uh, but I guess you'll be thinking about the movie at that point.
Keep thinking about
Probably.
all the things.
Yeah. Well, way to keep busy. Um,
Yeah.
all all right. Well, Izzy, this was awesome. Thank you so much for telling us about like the craft and the work that you do. Um, I don't, for my listeners, I don't know what's coming up next because I don't know when in the pipeline I'm going to do this. So I can't preview anything. I'm being honest with y'all out there. So, but I know we've got some fun panels and fun things coming up with some classic 50s science fiction novels that we're going to be covering soon. So you can look forward to that. Izzy, I definitely will have you back when your book comes out. It sounds awesome. I love LA Noir, and if you take LA Noir, Demon Possession Story, and make it a whole, you have got a reader in me. So I will make that happen.
Yeah.
So everybody out there, support Izzy's campaign. If you don't have the money to donate at this time, spread it around and make sure other people who do have the money can support this awesome film. And I can't wait to see it hopefully on the big screen soon. And it's up to us to fund it and to spread the word. So thank you, Izzy.
Thank you so much. This was so fun. I can't wait to be back.
All right. All right. Later, folks.